She had never been so terrified in her life. The cold walls of the hospital corridor seemed to close in on her as she clutched her handbag tightly against her chest, her knuckles pale from the pressure. Her breathing came in shallow bursts, and her heart pounded as though the world itself were conspiring to expose her secrets. For 23 years, Alina had carried her shyness like a second skin, so deeply woven into her being that speaking in front of strangers felt like walking barefoot on broken glass. But today, her quiet existence forced her into a place she had dreaded for months. She needed to see a gynecologist. The mere thought of stepping into that sterile room, speaking aloud about her own body, her fears, her unspoken pain, it was enough to send her into a spiral of panic. She had postponed this appointment 3 times already, finding excuses, convincing herself she was fine. But the pain inside her body had grown too loud to ignore. She could barely sleep at night without curling up in tears. It wasn't vanity or shame alone, it was a deeper wound, an old scar of rejection and ridicule from years past, that made her terrified of anyone seeing her vulnerability. But when the nurse finally called her name and led her into the consulting room, Alina's heart nearly stopped. Because sitting behind the polished desk, in a crisp white coat with an air of quiet confidence, wasn't the gray-haired doctor she had expected. Instead, it was a young man, perhaps in his early 30s, strikingly handsome, with kind but observant eyes. A man who clearly didn't belong in this small-town clinic by appearance alone. And when his nameplate caught her eye, her breath hitched. Dr. Arman Khan. She knew that name. Everyone in the city did. He was rumored to be one of the youngest millionaire doctors in the country, heir to a fortune yet known for turning his back on luxury to serve where others wouldn't. And here he was, the very doctor who now asked her gently to sit down. Before I take you deeper into this emotional journey of pain, healing, and unexpected kindness, I want to pause for just a moment. Dear viewers, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us of the beauty of humanity, please take a second to like this video, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Royal Stories. It truly helps us continue bringing you these heart-touching stories. Back in the room, Alina could barely meet his gaze. Her fingers trembled as she sat down, her words tumbling out broken and quiet. Every question he asked was simple, professional, and filled with warmth, but to her, it felt like standing under a spotlight. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor, to hide the pain she carried not only in her body but in her heart. For years, she had been mocked for her silence, for her awkwardness, for not fitting the mold of confident, carefree young women around her. She had been told, again and again, that her quietness made her weak, undesirable, forgettable. And now here she was, bearing her most private fears to a man who seemed untouchably perfect. But as the minutes stretched, something unexpected happened. Dr. Arman's voice never wavered into judgment. His eyes never once hinted at impatience. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, speaking as though he had all the time in the world just for her. He told her that pain was never something to be ashamed of, that seeking help was not weakness but courage. And with each word, a layer of her fear began to crumble. Over the next weeks, Alina returned for follow-ups. At first, every visit felt like a storm she had to endure, but slowly, she found herself waiting for the calm reassurance in his voice. He never treated her like a case file, he spoke to her like a person whose story mattered. And though she knew she was just one of many patients, in those brief moments, it felt like he truly saw her. Not just her illness, not just her shyness, but the quiet strength beneath it all. Still, doubts plagued her. Why would a man like him, a millionaire, a doctor with the world at his feet, care enough to notice a girl like her? A girl who flinched at her own reflection, who walked through life with her head bowed low. The questions gnawed at her, yet his kindness made her want to believe in something more. One day, during a particularly difficult appointment, she broke down completely. The weight of her years of silence, rejection, and pain poured out in tears she couldn't hold back. She expected him to step away, to detach himself as doctors often do. But instead, he simply offered her a moment of stillness, sliding a box of tissues toward her, waiting without a trace of discomfort. Then, in a voice that was almost softer than her own, he said, "Strength doesn't always shout, Alina. Sometimes it whispers, and I think you've been strong for far longer than you realize." Those words became an anchor in her storm. For the first time, she began to believe that her shyness was not a curse but a part of her journey, one that didn't make her less worthy of care, respect, or even love. The months went by, and as her health began to stabilize, so did her heart. She walked a little taller, spoke a little louder, smiled a little more. She found herself stepping into the world with courage she never knew she had. And though she and Dr. Armin shared nothing more than the boundary of doctor and patient, his presence had changed her life forever. When her final checkup arrived, she walked into the clinic not as the trembling girl who first stepped through those doors, but as a young woman who had found her voice. She thanked him, not only for his medical care but for treating her as though her soul mattered. And though he only nodded humbly, she caught a glimpse of something in his eyes. A quiet recognition, a silent respect, perhaps even a wish that she could see herself the way he saw her. And when Alina left the clinic that day, the world felt different. The streets seemed brighter, the sky wider, and her heart lighter. She had come in search of healing for her body, but she had left with something far greater, the courage to believe in herself. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness and how even the smallest encouragement can change someone's life, please engage with this video. Like it, share it, subscribe to Royal Stories, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Your support means more than you know, and it helps us keep telling these stories that matter. Special request to comment. Tell us in the comments if you've ever had someone believe in you when you couldn't believe in yourself. Your story might inspire someone else today.